Of course it did. Figured out what happened. I figured out what happened. Of course it did that. For some reason, OBS changed all of my settings without telling me. It just suddenly did that. So, can everybody hear me now? You can't? I don't know what else it did. Of course it did that. Oh wait, no, this isn't the right... Shoot. Give me a second. Okay. Not headphones. What it should be is... Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow, Ophelia, Sakura. Welcome, welcome. Hello. Welcome to my corner of the bog. Where is... What are these headphones? No, that's not the right one. Okay, come on. Finally, we got the sound going. Hello, welcome, welcome. Yes. So the problem was OBS decided to go and change where my sounds were coming from, including where my my talking. Oh, I forgot to turn my avatar back on. I figured it out though. The problem isn't me. The problem is OBS. But yes. Anyway, welcome, new follower. Welcome everyone to today's stream, which will hopefully be semi-scuff-free now. How's the volume on all the sound, by the way? My talking should be fine, but hopefully the music's not too loud. If it's too loud, let me know. I just like to have some background moved. Awesome, awesome. Excellent. So as you can see, I have a little snake buddy with me today because it's World Snake Day. And I feel like we should talk about our reptilian friends. Because even though snakes sometimes eat frogs, they're actually very, very important. I actually really like snakes. I think snakes are good, and I think that they get a really bad reputation. Because, of course, there's a lot of fear associated with snakes. And they are smooth in all directions like sharks. No, they are not smooth in all directions like sharks, sorry. But snakes are smooth. People always... I remember being... Oh, probably around 10? 8 or 9? No, like under 10. I remember people saying things like snakes are slimy, or like snakes feel bad or rough or whatever, but snakes are actually quite soft and smooth. Their scales feel nice. So, of course, I have touched snakes many times before. As some of you know, I used to work at an aquarium, and one of the main types of snakes that we had were ball pythons. So ball pythons, I'll just show you a picture so you know who I'm talking about. That's not a very good picture of them, but that's a ball python. They come from Africa. They're an African snake. And we literally referred to them as like puppy dog snakes because of how they have a very nice temperament. They're very calm. They're like the nicest snake. They're just so nice, right? They've got a really good, they're kind of everybody who gets into reptile keeping and who wants a snake kind of starts with them. They're often used as the starter snake. But we're going to talk about that a little bit, why if you do want to get into keeping reptiles, you should definitely think about it and do your research. Kiamu says we had a pet garter snake. She was smooth. Yeah, garter snakes are one of the top snakes here in Alberta. I believe they're usually more southern ranged, but they look kind of like this. They're a small snake. They eat things like worms, minnows, bugs. They don't even really have teeth, because when I worked at a nature center, we had a few garter snakes that were there for educational purposes, to teach people more about Alberta wildlife and to show that snakes weren't super scary. And they were always very active. They were very busy. They liked to kind of move all over the place. They're small. They had teeth, but they were so small that if they did like accidentally bite you, it really wouldn't affect much, because like I said, they're just tiny little snakes. And that's what we have here in Alberta, Canada, is these tiny ones. And we also have in southern Alberta, so not northern, to the south, I think we also have rattlesnakes, and there's maybe a few other types, but Canada is not really a big snake country, of course, because snakes don't tend to like where it's super cold. Snakes like where it's warmer. And a big part of that, of course, is because they are, let me just pull up, endothermic versus ectothermic. So you've probably heard snakes are cold-blooded. Oh no! It was me showing the garter snake, Kia Moose. I'm talking quick about cold-blooded versus warm-blooded. So the reason a lot of snakes and other animals like lizards, turtles, etc. So we've got our cold-blooded, or cold-blooded really isn't quite the right word, because their blood is not cold. They're ectothermic. So ectothermic or cold-blooded means that their body temperature depends on the environment. So animals that are ectothermic, they get their body temperature, they get their heat, they control their body temperature, they figure things out based on the sunlight, the environment around them. They can get heat off of different objects, but basically they don't, unlike us endothermic or warm-blooded animals. So humans, we make our own body heat, right? So that's why we do things like shiver and sweat, so that we can control our body temperature. And of course, mammals, we're the biggest variety of warm-blooded animals, and that's why we are very adaptable to living all over the place, because we end up we can put on layers to get warmer, we can shiver, we can sweat, we can do other things to affect our area as well, and lots of animals have things like fur. However, when you look at snakes, lizards, fish, they are dependent on their environment. So the environment around them affects how their body temperature works. And that's why it's very important to make sure that if you are keeping any kind of ectothermic animal or cold-blooded animal, that you have a heat source for them. And big disclaimer, you want to provide a safe heat source for them. So you want to make sure that your heat source is inaccessible for them to touch. So for example, if you have a heat bulb, you want to put it up high, have it surrounded by a cage, have it so that it's not close to them. Do not give them matches, because they cannot light the matches. Look at my snake friend here. Look at him body. I know this might come as a shock, but my snake friend has no hands. There are no hands. The snake cannot light the matches. So unfortunately, I would have to do all the match lighting. You are so right, Ophelia Sakura. You are so right, Ophelia. Cannot light matches. And some snakes have prehensile tails, so maybe they could, use the tail to grab the match and try to strike it, but it would be very difficult. And the snake isn't violent. He's armless! That is a great joke. Thank you for that. I love it. Plus twos all around. Thank you. but yeah. So my point with all of that, of course, is you want to make sure that your heat source is properly covered and managed. So you want to make sure that if you have a pet snake in an enclosure, that it's the ambient temperature, like the temperature all around, is at the right temperature for that snake. So whether it's, say, plus 30 degrees Celsius or something like that, you want it to feel like that all over in the air, because then your snake isn't going to do things like try to climb onto the heat lamp and sit directly on the heat lamp to get the warmth. Because unfortunately, snakes will burn themselves on things, and they will literally cook their own bodies and get severe burns because they're looking for that heat source to help manage their body temperature. So you really want to be careful with heat for that reason. That's actually ties into the fact that I used to work at an aquarium. The ball python, one of the ball pythons that we had rescued, because pretty much all the ball pythons we had came from the Humane Society, so they had been somebody's pet, and people gave them up for adoption because, well, whatever reason, whether they couldn't take care of them anymore, or they didn't want them anymore, or whatever their reason was. They put them up for adoption, and then we ended up taking in, I think we had 8 or 9 ball pythons at the aquarium I worked at, and one of them, she had a huge burn on her body because the heat source was not properly covered. And it was actually really unfortunate. She was a very, very nice girl. I liked her a lot. But yeah, you really want to be careful. And I think just even saying that we had 8 or 9 African ball pythons at the aquarium I worked at that were all former pets, I think that that right there tells you how often people actually end up surrendering their reptiles for adoption, which is, it's really a shame. And that's why every time I'm going to talk about reptiles, I want to tell you safety, how to take care of them, all that good stuff. Well, and the other thing is, if you have a heat lamp, there are ways to secure it, right? You have chains, stands. You usually want to put your heat lamp outside of whatever enclosure you're working with, because the problem with this, of course, because if you look at the heat lamp, it's hot. It's very, very hot. If you can put it outside of the enclosure, or even see how these chicks, how it's suspended and they can't get at it, you want to make sure that you hang them safely and that you're not putting them by flammable objects, and that you still get the heat, but the animal can't touch them and it can't light things on fire. So it really is all about safety. And you don't have to get heat bulbs. You can also get ceramic heaters, but whatever you choose, remember, heat leads to fire. And I think that's one of the things people forget sometimes, is that things are very flammable. Just in general. But yeah, one of the biggest things that I've noticed, if you want to learn more about something like a ball python, there are lots of websites like this one, Reptile Direct. Literally, this website is just about how to take care of reptiles. So if you decide that you want to take care of a reptile, and maybe you're ready for that, right? You're ready for that 30 to 40 year commitment for a ball python. And yes, I did just say they live 30 to 40 years. A lot of reptiles, when you adopt them, it's not a short-term thing. It's not like they live 10 to 15 years. We're saying 30 to 40. And with some species of turtles and tortoises, you're going for 100 plus years. So very long-term commitments, right? So of course, you want to learn things from people who know what they're talking about, people who are going to give you proper education, tell you the do's and don'ts, things that they've learned, all that good information. So that's why today we're going to talk about them domestically and wild, of course. But learning about them, it is worth it. It is worth it to learn about reptiles. And if you do decide that you want a snake and you're ready for it and you're going to get a ball python, honestly, go to whatever your local animal rescue is. There is very likely a lovely snake up for adoption there that you can bring home with you and give a wonderful life. So I know everybody says adopt, not shop, but for reptiles, this is especially important just because of how many end up being given up. And of course, if for whatever reason you have to give up a pet of any kind of pet at all, do not release them into the wild. Never, ever, ever release any animal that has been under human care, whether it's in a zoo, in a pet store, your personal pet. Do not release them into the wild, because this will have consequences. Not only for the pet itself, because imagine that you're, a tortoise that has been spoiled and loved all your life, and you're fed, handmade salads that I would get up at like 6 a.m. to make for them, with like fruits and vegetables and like a wonderful diet and some crickets. And suddenly you are dropped off in the middle of nowhere in the woods. Your person isn't there. Your food isn't there. Your toys aren't there. None of your stuff is there. That's scary. That's like throwing a person into the forest and being like, survive! Terrifying. Nobody wants that. So that's a big thing, of course, is just their health right there. That's very stressful. It's not very kind. But it's like when baby birds expect the worms to jump in their mouth. Yeah, it's like that. But for whatever pet you've just dropped off in the middle of nowhere, it's scary. But then the other thing, too, is that as humans, we actually carry diseases that other animals would never be exposed to unless they actually interact with humans. So that's another big reason, is that it can end up spreading diseases into wild populations and wiping out wild populations because, turns out your turtle has a very specific disease that is only carried by turtles who are under human care. And I know that might sound wild, but it's actually very real. That's why pet parrots can never be released back into the wild, because after they're cared for by humans, they have too many diseases that can be contracted to wild populations and end up wiping the wild populations out. And of course, the big one, the biggest one that I'm always going to harp on, because I am a biologist. I used to be a conservation biologist, so you're gonna hear me talk about science a lot. So, invasive species. There are so many different kinds of invasive species. This is just across Canada, some different kinds of invasive species. Zebra mussels, goldfish. I know, How many people knew that goldfish were an invasive species in Canada? And literally, you want to know why goldfish are invasive? Because people started releasing them into ponds, streams, and lakes across Canada. They don't have any natural predators. They spread like crazy. So do not release your pets into the wild. It's illegal, it's dangerous, it's inhumane, and it's just a bad idea. So they even have stuff about reporting invasive species. Like, it's a huge problem. See, you just keep looking through here, and plants, animals, beetles, worms, Japanese knotweed, and there's there's even how to manage it. Why does this matter? So if you want to know more about invasive species, I highly recommend looking into what they are, how to prevent them, what's in your area, and what you can do to help. I hate knotweed. Yeah, so anybody who gardens or who does lawn care or does anything outdoors with plants, I'm pretty sure that you have run into things like Japanese knotweed taking over everything, or one of the big things here in Alberta is creeping bellflower. It's really, really hard to get rid of. The only way to get rid of it is pretty much to dig up the roots, and the roots go down very deep into the soil, and then you dig it up, and you pretty much have to put it on a concrete block and just let it dry out. And the only other way to really get rid of it is to take a heavy tarp and suffocate it, but that can take a few years too. It's a lot. So yeah, always be careful with invasive species. But we're not talking about invasive species, we're talking about snakes. So let me get back on topic. So yeah, we've got our ball pythons, which I think ball pythons are the best snake in my opinion. They're the best snake if you want a pet because they are very social with people, which a lot of reptiles aren't going to be social with people. That's just not how they're hardwired. Ball pythons, on the other hand, are very curious. They like to explore, they like to climb. You can actually make all kinds of enrichment for them. So if you have something like a ladder, they'll try to climb the ladder. They might want to push a ball around. You'll find out what their likes and dislikes are pretty quickly. And of course, you want to know things like I said, 30 plus years. And they can grow to be about 3.5 feet. So sometimes, and the females, of course, are larger. A female ball python can grow to be 5 feet tall. So you've got a little person living in your house. It's not even a little person. That's almost the size of a human adult, right? So they tend to be very docile, and a lot of snakes are nocturnal, meaning that they're active at night, not during the day. And they do need things like UV light. Pretty much every animal needs some exposure to UV light, including us, humans. So it's really, really cool. And they come in all sorts of different colors. And again, like I said, on here they tell you, here's the sizes for the enclosures. Here's how to set things up. They need to hide. Oh, you're allergic to sunlight. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would make it difficult because they do need the UV. Yeah. And depending on the type of reptile, some of them need really high UV. But like I said, this website will kind of tell you their warmth their enclosure. And yeah, you want to have a warm side and a cool side of the enclosure so they can decide like, oh, I'm too hot, I'm gonna go cool down, or I'm too cold, I'm gonna go warm up. And humidity is of course important for them too. Humidity might actually be more important for reptiles in some cases than for people, because snakes shed their skin, and if you're really dry, your skin's not gonna shed in one part properly, and it might get stuck and it'll get itchy and uncomfortable. So lots of things to think about. And something people don't realize is that a lot of reptiles, including ball pythons and other snakes, like water. They like to swim or they like to soak. So you have to not just provide a bowl big enough to drink from, but for them to put their whole body into. And then the big one that I find a lot of people really don't like. If you are going to feed a ball python or many types of reptiles, if your reptile is not a herbivore or an insectivore, meaning they eat insects, they're gonna eat rodents. And the type of rodents that they are going to eat, usually frozen mice or frozen rats. And I lean towards getting pre-killed or frozen prey. I know some people feed live, but the reason that I prefer to feed frozen prey is that it's already dead. Your pet snake doesn't have to do any work. You just kind of heat it up and thaw it. And snakes really don't care that it's frozen, because you pull it out of your freezer, you feed them once a month, and they're not going to get an infection. They're not going to get injured. There's not any kind of real problem. And if you've literally fed them frozen all their life, they do not care. They're like, oh, it's food time. There's that really gross smelling rat. Yum. And they do stink. They stink so bad. Because, again, used to have to heat them up with hand dryers, and oh, it was gross, but snakes love it. So, yeah, it's really interesting. And then you can see updates on this webpage, like here how they say you don't have to move in between a feeding tub and their enclosure anymore. And they talk about, of course, health issues. And you want to know about health issues with any pet. Yeah, it was a hand dryer that we used to use at my work. So we would take the frozen rodent, put it near the hand dryer, and warm it up for a little bit. And as it thawed, it got smellier and smellier. It was so gross. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. But that's another thing you want to be aware of when you get a pet, right? Is like, am I going to be able to do this? Or is this going to be too gross for me? Because there's always things that you're going to need to handle. Feeding, and feeding the right types of food. Cleaning up after your pet, which is, do you have to clean up their poop? Yep, everything poops. How are we going to clean this? How are we going to handle it? Where's the waste going to go? If they get sick, is there a vet or somebody I can take them to help them get better? And when you look at stuff like this, a lot of the problems are literally from things like improper care. Because so much of this is you didn't keep it warm enough, you didn't keep it dry enough, or you kept it too warm or too dry. So it's a balance that you really want to make sure you get right. And of course, there's always the chance with any kind of pet whatsoever, if it has a mouth, it can bite. So you can't just say, oh, well, there's a 1000% guarantee you will never ever get bit by my snake because it's so calm. We can't guarantee that if your snake is hungry and you smell like rat and they're like, oh, you are a rat. Because snakes have terrible eyesight. Their eyesight is bad. So if you smell like a dead rat and you're approaching a hungry snake, they will try to bite because they think you're food. They can't see. They don't know. They're not relying on their vision. They're relying on their sense of smell. And you smell like a rat. So that's one of the things you got to be careful about, right? And then look at this. All your FAQs too. So if you want to learn more about how to take care of a pet reptile, remember, do your research. Learn about them. Talk to people who have owned reptiles before. Hell, even go to somewhere like a zoo or an aquarium and ask the keepers there what they do and how they care for them. There are lots of great resources, lots of great people to learn from. But yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way. Start off with, are snakes good pets? And of course, the answer is, well, it depends. Because honestly, any pet can be a bad pet if you are not prepared to be a good owner. Even a dog can be a really bad pet if you're not ready for a dog. So do your research, decide if this is right for you. And I'm not going to tell you can or can't do it. I'm just going to tell you, make sure you're informed. So let's talk about World Snake Day. That's today, July 16th. Let's celebrate snakes. They're really cool things, right? There's nobody quite like a snake. We've got snakes that can change their colors. Snakes that are good at camouflage. Snakes that hang around together. My snake has a little top hat. I love my little snake's top hat. It's so cute. And a little mustache. See? Do you like my snake's little mustache too? But yeah, it's like there's so much to learn about snakes. And sometimes they do take care of their young. Sometimes they spar and fight over things. And there's lots of different information. Let's watch this. Advocates for Snakes Preservation.
How we think about snakes.
Let's learn about some snakes. There's a lot of really good videos and good information out there about snakes. So let's take a look at this.
This is limited to what we've been taught. Snakes are mysterious, silent, and stealthy predators that are very effective at what they do. Snakes are masters of camouflage. They blend into their surroundings, often remaining invisible even when you are staring right at them. Snakes have amazing, unique adaptations to this limbless lifestyle that seems so foreign to humans. It's easy to interpret these differences in the worst possible way. The lidless eyes of snakes, unblinking, seem threatening to many people. A rattling rattlesnake, a snake who is fearing for his life, is often perceived as angry or aggressive. Negative perceptions about snakes are reinforced by myth and media. In every story, book, or movie in which a snake appears, they're the villain, the evil one. If there's a news story involving a snake in someone's yard or out on the trail, the snake is the unprovoked aggressor. And snakes need our help. They haven't escaped the worldwide extinction crisis. They're threatened by climate change, habitat degradation and loss, and exploitation. Like all wildlife, snakes are an important part of our community and a vibrant, functioning planet. But negative attitudes about snakes may be the biggest barrier to their conservation. It's difficult to gain public support when you aren't perceived as cute and cuddly, and everyone thinks you are out to get them. Advocates for Snake Preservation, or ASP, wants to show you a different side of snakes. Did you know that rattlesnakes can be carrying mothers? They give birth to live young and stay with their kids for the first couple weeks of their lives. Not only do they care for their own kids, they will sometimes babysit their neighbors' kids too. The first litter of snakes born at a nest shared by multiple mothers may be cared for by one of the still pregnant females while the new mother rests. Snakes can be persistent suitors. A male may track a female for days, and once he finds her, will stay with her, courting her and guarding her from other males for days or even weeks. Snakes are effective predators, not only of rodents and other mammals, but fish, amphibians, and other reptiles, including lizards and even other snakes. Snakes are also an important source of food for many predatory birds, mammals, and other reptiles. Snakes can also live rich social lives. We found in our research that Arizona black rattlesnakes are actually choosy about who they hang out and bask with. They have some close associates, or what we'd call friends, and other snakes that they avoid. Stories like these engage people in a way that simply stating facts and figures do not. In 2014, we founded ASP to promote compassionate conservation and coexistence with snakes by illustrating cool snake behaviors with multimedia stories. We share them on our website, social media, presentations, and events. While education and changing attitudes are the heart of our work, we also take action and advocate on issues that can't wait for long-term strategy, and continue our research to provide a clearer picture of what snakes are really like. We changed the conversation on rattlesnake roundups, killed the Arizona snake shooting bill, and have helped thousands of people learn to coexist with their snake neighbors in the yard and on the trail. ASP isn't just 1, 2, or 3 people. It's all of us, working together for a world where snakes are respected and appreciated instead of feared and hated. Won't you join us?
I love videos like that show lots of different snake footage and talk about them because, well, like I've said, I think snakes are great. They get a very bad reputation, and a lot of people act like they're very scary all the time, but they're just little guys, exactly. And a lot of them have very boopable looking snoots, but unfortunately, you should not boop the snoot. Why? Because you will probably scare the snake. Because they have bad eyesight. They have such bad eyesight. Well, let's see what this World Snake Day video is. It's only a minute long, so.
Snakes outnumber every other reptile on Earth, and most of them have never bitten a person. World Snake Day is July 16th. There are roughly 3,800 snake species alive today, and fewer than 600 are venomous, about 15%. Of those, only 200 or so can actually kill a human. The rest are entirely harmless and spend their lives eating rodents, controlling pest populations, and being misunderstood. The fear of snakes runs so deep it has a clinical name, ophidiophobia, and studies show it is one of the most common phobias in the industrialized world. Yet in countries where snakes and humans coexist closely, like rural India or sub-Saharan Africa, functional familiarity largely replaces the fear. World Snake Day was established to close that gap. Know the animal before you fear it. The practical side is simple. Learn the 1 or 2 venomous snakes native to your region so you can identify the dozens that are not. Most snake encounters in backyards and parks involve completely harmless species doing useful work. The next time you see one, give it 3 feet and watch. Share this with someone who screams first and asks questions never. Snakes outnumber every other reptile on Earth, and most of them have never bitten a person. World Snake Day is July.
Okay, straight up, the only snakes that I ever see in Alberta, when I do see them, are just garter snakes. And garter snakes are always just darting around everywhere like, ah! Because they are very busy, very skittish little guys. And I don't really blame them for going as fast as they can because they're so teeny tiny. They're just tiny little things, and they're just like, don't step on me, I just want to eat a cricket, which is fair. I don't think you could use a garter snake as a jump rope, Cosmo. You couldn't. Too small. You could wear it as a bracelet for like 10 seconds before it falls off of you, though. Unfortunately, the only one we have in my area is... Ooh. I'm going to teach you something. Ready? So, most snakes are actually not poisonous. They are actually venomous. So venom is injected via stings and bites. So if it bites you, it's poisonous. Or venomous, sorry. So scorpions, bees, jellyfish, snakes, poison is consumed, inhaled, or absorbed through the skin. So things like your frogs, berries, mushrooms, various other poisons. And the reason that I want to bring this up is because a lot of the time people will say that they saw a poisonous snake, but they're actually venomous. And I know that might seem, aren't they the same thing? They aren't, actually. So, venom and poisons both have toxins in them, both are chemicals, but the way they're delivered to the body is very different. And because poison is consumed, that makes you sick through, digestion and things, right? Whereas with venom, what's interesting about venom is that it's a mix of organic compounds. And the wild thing is venom might not be... I gotta look more into that because for the most part, venom is not toxic if you ingest it. So the thing about venom is that our digestive enzymes actually will break down the harmful proteins in venom. So that's why you can do things like eat venomous snakes or eat venom. I think they actually put snake venom and other types of venom into food dishes. But like I said, our stomachs can break it down. The problem, however, comes up with if you have ulcers in your stomach or ulcers in your mouth, then the venom will seep into the ulcers, and the open ulcers, open sores, things like that. Then it can get into your bloodstream, and it getting into your bloodstream can, you get the venom actually affecting your body. So looking here, we've got our different examples. And some poison, like it says here, the garter snake's not venomous, but it has toxic meat from amphibians it eats. So this is another thing, is that sometimes the poison is secreted from the animal, and other times the poison is kind of almost inherited from what they eat. So with the guy on Reddit who ate a venomous snake whole and got sick, there's a lot there that makes me question if that actually happened the way the person is saying it does. Because one of the biggest things is, what type of venomous snake was it? Because just saying a venomous snake, there's a big difference between eating, say, a black mamba, the most venomous snake in the world, and, a rattlesnake. Am I suggesting that somebody just went on the internet and lied? Well, I'm suggesting that we don't really have enough information to kind of figure out what's going on here. And the other thing we would need to know, of course, is what does your stomach and your mouth look like? Do you have any ulcers? Do you have any sores? Did you accidentally bite the inside of your cheek and now you have like an open wound? Because any of that changes the story immediately as well too, right? So there's a lot of information that's missing, and I think that's a big problem, is that people leave out information to sensationalize things, but you really have to have all of the factors, because otherwise it's hard to figure out what's going on. And of course, there are animals that are both poisonous and venomous, like the Asian tiger snake, venomous from its bite and poisonous because it eats poisonous toads. Or a blue-ringed octopus, venomous bite and poisonous if eaten. So sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, sometimes it's both. But I hope this little fun fact sheet helps. Trey says, oh no, I left out information because I didn't remember it. Oh, no worries. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, with that limited amount of information, I can't really tell you what happened there, because I would need more context, pretty much. Because my theory is that the guy ingesting the venom probably had some sort of cut open wound, because even if you have something wrong with your teeth, like say you have a crack in your tooth or a rotten tooth or some kind of problem with your teeth, it's any kind, the risk. That's why you can't do the whole thing where they say like suck out the venom from the snake bite and spit it out, because if you have any sort of opening into your bloodstream, you're going to end up needing to go to the hospital to get the anti-venom anyways. So, oh, it was a copperhead. Okay. Yeah. I honestly think I think the guy ended up, I think the guy ended up ingesting the venom and getting it into his bloodstream, because like I said, there are so many ways to accidentally consume venom and end up pretty much making yourself sick because of that. So, hey Zero, nice to see you. And it's also like what Kiamu said. It could be like the whole MSG myth, where someone gets sick and blames an unrelated steak or something unrelated. Because if the guy's eating a lot of raw meat too, there could be so many other problems. Like, there could be, parasites for one, diseases, etc., etc. But the problem is also, because of we're humans and our brains, we can end up tricking ourselves into believing things. But I honestly think that it was probably that there was some sort of, like I said, there was some sort of opening between the stomach and the mouth or the throat, somewhere that venom could get into the blood. And super, super common thing. Super common. Cosmo says, I, as the king of taxes, am truly appalled that people would lie on the internet. Right? Why would anyone ever lie on the internet? Only tell the truth at all times, and I will know if you lie. I'll know it. All right. So, there are 185 types of snakes across the world. So, that's quite a few. And one of the biggest reasons that I pick websites like this are because I wanted to look at a little bit of a sample of what kind of snakes can you find where. For example, in North America, we have the eastern copperhead. I feel like copperheads get talked about a lot, whether it in various media or, just in general. I feel like copperheads are always coming up in like cowboy stories. You know what I mean? Oh, here's why. This is the United States. And, oh, Virginia Herpetological Society. Nice. Okay, that's cool. They have a whole 34 species of snakes. Only 3 are venomous. That's cool. That's very cool. But, like, copperheads! That's kind of almost half of the map. That's just a lot. Yeah, and copperhead is very cool. And they are venomous. I think that's also why they come up so much, because like anytime people want to have a villain in like a cowboy story that isn't a human, they're like, and then he saw a copperhead snake, and the copperhead snake was like, I'm a copperhead, and they were like, well, now we have to kill that snake for existing. And I'm like, okay, but what did the snake actually do besides just being there? But you know, the copperhead had the audacity of being born a snake, so I guess it's their fault. R.I.P. to the Queen of Taxes. R.I.P. Oh, that's cool. Okay, this also makes sense. Copperheads are ambush predators, so they wait to surprise their prey. And they have a heat-sensing organ between their eyes. That's so cool, because they can see infrared then. So, infrared. I'm just going to pull that up just in case you don't know what infrared vision looks like. That's this. So this is how copperhead snakes see. They can see what's hot and what's cool. Could you imagine being able to see in infrared? That would be so cool. Just going around like, oh, I can't eat that. That pig is too big. But maybe I could eat the baby pig. Maybe the baby pig. But not the big pig. Oh, cool. They're also rarely fatal. Oh, we have a little video we can watch. Yeah! Yeah! Okay, I'm gonna play the video because I'm curious. Since my mixtape is so hot, it'd act like a flashbang for that snake. Exactly! The snake would be like, ah! I can't see anything! Ooh, who will be discovered first? Queen of Taxes or Southern King of Frogs? I think that's actually a poll worth asking in chat. I'm gonna create that poll. Let's find out. New poll. Who will be discovered first? Queen of Taxes? Southern King of Frogs. Oh, I guess I don't need to put question marks after things. All right. You got 10 minutes to vote in this poll. That's very important. It's a very important poll for chat. All right. Let's learn about copperheads.
Snake is coming out. There he is. Okay, whoa. Copperheads do have a tendency to be rather spastic. Very quick snake. Okay, let me just kind of balance it up on the snake hook like this. Ooh, struck at your camera there. Look at that defensive pose. That is strike mode at its finest right there. These are very fast striking snakes. It's definitely a species you always want to be cognizant of when you're in the environment. They are so perfectly camouflaged. Now, to really get a better look at the snake, there's a method that we can use to actually handle it called tubing, where the front of the snake will go inside of a plastic tube, and that will allow me to handle the snake without the risk of being bitten. And copperhead's staying rather calm right now, which is great. It's exactly what we want. Look at that. Now, it's really important that I keep one hand on the snake and the tube at the exact same time. What we don't want to happen is for the copperhead to wiggle out backwards and inflict a bite. That is so cool. What a beautiful reptile. Now, while the copperhead is a pit viper, it is not a rattlesnake. However, like rattlesnakes, they will sometimes wiggle just the tip of their tail against leaf litter, alerting any potential predator or even a human that, hey, if I've been spotted, I'm here in the environment and you don't want to get any closer. Now, people oftentimes confuse non-venomous snake species with copperheads or water moccasins, and you can see that very distinct banding that runs down the length of the body. It looks just like the banding on a younger northern water snake. And even the underside, the underbelly, that slight checkered patterning and the design on the dorsal scale pattern almost looks like a fox snake, another completely harmless species. So this snake does have a rather negative reputation, but as long as you don't try to interact with the snake in the environment, all it wants to do is stay completely hidden from humans. Now, when it comes to venom toxicity, this is a dangerous snake. It is not a reptile you would ever want to be bitten by. But when it comes to the venomous snakes in the United States, this is on the lower end of potency, right? So a water moccasin, which is a much larger snake, is going to have a higher venom yield when it bites you, especially when it comes to rattlesnakes. An eastern diamondback, a timber rattlesnake, a western diamondback, bigger snake means a larger venom yield. You can see the size of this snake's head is rather small, which means it has smaller venom glands. But keep in mind, it's all about how your body reacts to venom. Just recently, somebody in Alabama was bitten by a copperhead and they died from anaphylactic shock. A bite from a snake like a copperhead could mean the end of your life. Well, we didn't manage to find our target, the timber rattlesnake, but that's okay. We still came across one of West Virginia's most iconic pit vipers, the copperhead, and getting it up close, testing out this method of tubing, totally made the adventure worthwhile. Now, before we release it right back where we found it, what I actually want to do is place it in the leaf litter to show you just how camouflaged this snake truly is.
Most people do their best to avoid interactions with snakes. A smart state of mind, especially if the species is venomous. Suffice it to say, snakes think exactly the same and do their absolute best to avoid humans. If you find yourself exploring in an area that is known to inhabit venomous snakes, your safest plan of action is to wear sturdy hiking boots, stick to well-worn trails, and most importantly, pay attention to where you are walking, and you should be completely safe.
Okay, we're gonna let the copperhead slither right back out of the snake bag. Perfect. Look at that. I'm Coyote Peterson. Be brave. Stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure.
Hey Coyote Pack, do you know the difference between a venomous and a non-venomous snake? If not, make sure to check out the episode where I show you the distinction between a water moccasin and a water snake. And don't forget, subscribe and click the notification bell so you can join me and the crew on our next big adventure.
Check that out. That is a broad-banded water snake. Woo!
Oh my goodness! Thank you very, very much for the 7-month subscription, Speezix! Thank you so much! Hi! Speezix says there's too many mother flippin' snakes on this mother flippin' stream! It's true, it's true! Hello! Yeah! Water slipper. For extinct species of snakes, how do scientists tell if they're venomous or not? Is it possible? Ooh, that is a good question. All right. There is actually an answer to this, if I remember correctly. How to tell if a snake is venomous or not. It actually has to do with their faces. So, some of it is actually, wildly enough, the shape of their head. Not every snake, of course. There are exceptions. Everything is going to be asterisk exceptions. So, they have, like, kind of bigger triangle-shaped heads. They're broader heads. Which I know sounds kind of weird, and isn't always the best way to tell things, but it's things like the pit organs, because snakes are either venomous or constrictors. So they will either constrict their prey or they use their venom to poison their prey. So the pits, the little holes located between, see right here where my mouse is pointing? That is a pit organ. That's how they sense heat. The coloration also helps, but that doesn't really work for extinct species, of course. But if you see a brightly colored snake, you're going to want to nope right out of there, because as usual, if it's brightly colored in nature, that's probably not a good time. Pupil shape, behavior, their brows. Oh geez. I know there's ways how to tell if a snake is extinct. So I'm pretty sure there's also stuff to do with the bones. So but yeah, you can extinct animals. Here we go. Extinct snakes. Look at those baby legs. Look at those baby legs. So these are all different kinds of extinct snakes, which is really, really cool. I like how all the time it's just like, it got too cold, it got too cold, it got too cold. Pretty much all of them are like hunted out of extinction, or it got too cold. But yeah, head shape is a big one. The pit organ is a big one. And of course, color. Look at that face. Look at that face. I'm glad you like my top hat snake. I like my top hat snake too. Their teeth are often a little bit interesting. So I thought there was, yeah. So I think one of the biggest things for extinct snakes is that they're guessing based on the head shape, because the big triangular flat head does give it away. And of course, size. Venomous snakes, they can get up to, the king cobra, of course, 12 feet long, bigger. But the largest snake, our largest snake in the world, is the anaconda. And the anaconda is a constrictor. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, you've got the reticulated python. And anytime you get things like pythons, and we've got large snakes, anacondas, pythons. Actually, I think pretty much all of these snakes that are over 20... Oh, I think except for the king cobra, all of these snakes are constrictors. Yeah. So the king cobra is the only venomous snake amongst pretty much all of the others. So that's another hint. Well, not all the time, but, you know, the larger snakes tend to be constrictors. Look at that. I would love an egg, please. All right, Burmese python, here's an egg for you. Reticulated python. The longest snake, also the heaviest. African rock python. Look at that face. Hey, I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I just, I find it interesting, though, like, looking through pretty much all of these, none of these are venomous. They're all, well, again. Oh, hey, we've even got some enormous extinct snakes in here. Some 58 million years ago, a gargantuan snake patrolled the rivers of Colombia, named Titanoboa ceruginosus. The animal swims these waters no more. That's a big snake. Experts aren't sure why the reptile died out. Maybe because of climate change, or perhaps it couldn't compete with the big carnivorous mammals who arrived later on the scene. What we do know was it was big. And they haven't found his complete skeleton, so they have ribs, backbones, and pieces of skulls. So this would have weighed over 1.25 tons and surpassed 42 feet or 12.8 meters. The largest known snake of all time. I like how they show, look, it's eating like a crocodile or an alligator or something. Oh, and here's another giant snake. Okay. The other thing we can look up, actually, when did venom evolve? I'm probably going to get, when did venomous snakes evolve? Because that's always a good thing to look into, too, to figure out, like, when did this start showing up? So venom in snakes and lizards, it's modified saliva. Let's see. Evolutionary history of snake venom is under heavy debate. They think that it evolved once at the base of Canophidia or derived snakes. Okay. So that's where 80% of all of our snakes right now come from. So they think that it evolved around 170 million years ago. So the original toxoferin venom was a very simple set of proteins. Okay, that's really interesting. So if we're looking at when venom evolved, that also makes sense that a lot of our prehistoric snakes would not have been venomous because it wouldn't have evolved yet. So I guess part of estimating, and of course, I'm not a paleontologist, I'm not a paleobiologist, but I did take evolutionary biology, so I'm interpreting best I can. The biggest way that we kind of figure out when something evolved, besides, of course, looking at fossil records, looking at DNA and genetics are one of the biggest ways that we've been figuring out where things fit in the evolutionary tree. But if we're looking at everything, you look for common ancestors, you look at how old was this versus that, where was it found in the fossil record. So from what I'm understanding is that it looks like snake venom developed later than things. You know what? A little bit later. So Cenozoic period. When they colonized the Americas. Okay, yeah. So if we're looking at when everything chronologically happened, boom. There we go. I love how it tells you somewhere around here. But yeah, that's always, like I said, the hardest part with figuring where things happened. So it sounds that a lot of I think to specifically figure out where things evolved and when, they often have to find things that were preserved, like tissue samples and stuff. But yeah, definitely interesting. But from the sounds of it, like I said, constrictors evolved first, and then later the venomous ones evolved when they came into the Americas. So quite interesting. And to fully answer your question, Zero, I would say that it is partially guesswork. It's educated guesswork, of course, using modern examples of snakes, using what we can find within the fossil record, and everywhere else. But I would say by aging the snake too, that probably plays into it quite a bit, because if it's, before the Cenozoic period that they found the snake skeleton, they're going to be like, yeah, that guy doesn't have venom. But afterwards, my educated guess is that they're using location, what kind of species were around the area, of course, shape of the skull, shape of the snake, all that good stuff. And like how we were just looking at, bigger snakes tend to be constrictors. And even though the king cobra is large, it's still quite a bit smaller than the biggest constrictors. So body size does play a little bit into it. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of rambling now, but I hope that kind of answered your question. And hello, Roz. Welcome to chat. We're talking about snakes for World Snake Day. So yeah, talking about snakes, talking about venom, looking at all kinds of different snakes. Of course, there's snakes that can swim too. Difference between poison and venom. Yeah, no problem, Zero. I hope that was a satisfactory answer, because I hadn't really thought of that before. So always really interesting to talk about things like that, right? So we've got a lot to learn about with snakes. And honestly, they can teach us a lot. I love the fact that I love this kind of snake, the green bush viper. I love that it has these like diamond-shaped scales. I love the fact, I think my favorite prehistoric snake though is just look, these tiny little baby legs. Hey, I have little legs. I'm just dragging my little legs behind me. It's just, they're so silly looking. Oh, this one has tiny little legs too. I have these little legs I can't use. They're my legs. They're just so silly looking. I'm just dying looking at these little legs. These poor snakes. But yeah, it's really interesting how, with poison and venom too, how poison has to be absorbed or inhaled, but venom has to be injected into the bloodstream. And toxin delivery systems, they're just really, really interesting to me. Because you can actually read up about how toxins are delivered into the body, how they work. Actually, that reminds me. I need to look up how many antivenoms are available for snakes, because so snake antivenom is very interesting because it's made from antibodies that neutralize the venoms, right? It's so it's basically you've got to harvest the venom from the snakes, and then you give a little bit of that venom to a host animal, like a sheep or a horse, and it creates an immunological response to make neutralizing antibodies. And then you take these from the host animal and further process it, and then you can use this to help treat humans. Like, it's really interesting to me, because it's all about antibodies, right? And antibodies are just fascinating to me. Kiamoose, are bees venomous? Yes, bees are venomous. That is true. So yeah, when you get stung by a bee or stung by a wasp or stung by a jellyfish, stings are venomous, because it's basically like having a needle inject you. Really interesting, isn't it? Oh, interesting. I did not know. There, as of 2012, coral snake bites are fairly rare, and producing and maintaining an anti-venom supply is very expensive. So because of that, there is an actual anti-venom shortage for New World coral snakes. Interesting. Very interesting. Of course, most snakes are not venomous. It's only 15%. That's 15% of all snakes are venomous. So most of them aren't even venomous. Most of them are constrictors, like I said, which means that they like to give you a big hug. Just kidding. Don't get a hug from a snake. Bad idea. But it's interesting looking at what anti-venoms are available and which countries have them. And, you know, it makes sense because a lot of these are things like coral snakes. And then in North America, of course, it's rattlesnakes, copperheads, cottonmouths. Australia, brown snakes. I like how it's just many Australian snakes, sea snakes. I believe the black mamba, though, does not have it. Yeah, it doesn't look like the black mamba has an antivenom. Oh, hi, Galaru. Oh, I'm sorry that you've been having trouble connecting to the stream. Well, I'm glad you're here now. Yeah, I don't know why. I've been having some scuff on my end, so yeah. Sometimes that happens. Oh, I forgot to check the poll. Southern King of Frogs with 100% of the vote will be discovered before the Queen of Taxes. Fair. You know what? Believers always rewarded. Oh, that's not. Where is that? Ah, there we go. I forgot to put some music back on. Your work doesn't want you watching me. But yeah, the black mamba. That is the world's most venomous snake, I believe. Or one of the most venomous. So black mambas are fast, but there is a lot to them. So let's talk about them a little bit, because we don't fear things if we understand them, and I think we could do with some understanding. So let's talk about them. Oh, is this an AI video? I don't want to watch an AI video. I want to watch black mamba. I want to watch a normal video. Oh, hey! Clint's Reptiles even talks about the black mamba. Ah, here we go.
I have a black mamba here. The longest venomous snake that we have in Africa. Nowadays we talk of a maximum length of 3.8 meters, but there are historical records of up to 4.5 meters. It has a very, very potent neurotoxic venom, acts very quickly, and there are records of people dying in less than half an hour after a black mamba bite. That's exceptional. Usually it'll take 1 to 8 hours in a serious bite if the patient is not treated promptly. Not black in color, light or dark gray. Some individuals are more of an olivey brown color. And then occasionally we get black mambas that have some barring down the sides. These snakes feed on warm-blooded prey, so they prefer rodents, tree squirrels, dussies. They might take birds, but we seldom see them taking other prey like lizards or even snakes. Just about unheard of for black mambas to take snakes. Reproduction, around 8 to 16, 17 eggs at a time. The babies hatch in about 2 months. And they measure around 40 to 60 centimeters in length. It's, of course, a total myth that juvenile snakes are more dangerous than the adults because they can't control their venom. There's no truth to that. But baby snakes, by and large, have venom that is very similar to that of the adults, but they obviously have a much smaller venom yield than the adults do. Lots and lots of myths about black mambas. Black mambas chasing men on horseback. Black mambas lifting 80% of their bodies off the ground. Biting on the top of off-road vehicles, There's no snake that can lift that much of its body off the ground. Those are all just stories. And of course, the aggressiveness of the black mamba. Very, very overrated. To give you an idea, the 2 or 3 snake removers in the greater Durban area removed over 200 black mambas this past season, yet there wasn't a single black mamba bite. So these snakes are being removed from people's houses, from their gardens, yet no bites at all. With neurotoxic venoms, it's very, very important that you get the patient to a hospital so that they can be ventilated if it's necessary. As for antivenom, again, highly effective if given early, but bear in mind that in snake bites in general, 9 out of 10 snake bite victims don't need antivenom and they don't get it, purely because it's not necessary.
Well, there you go. See, that's why I also like to look up videos like that, because that guy's from South Africa, where black mambas are from, and I will fully admit, I don't know a lot about black mambas. Most of the snakes that I handled when I was working at an aquarium, like I said, constrictors, ball pythons, just really chill little snakes. So that's why it's always good to look up things, especially from people like Clint's Reptiles, or that guy's video was really good too. The African Snakebite Institute. I would say that they know what they're talking about there. Ooh, let's watch some snake myths. I'm curious about that. I think that's a good idea to watch that.
So one of the most popular myths is that all snakes are venomous, and that is certainly not the case. A large portion of our snakes are technically venomous, but only about 10 or 11% of the snakes of Southern Africa are regarded as highly venomous. In other words, could cause human fatalities in exceptional cases. Very often when people find baby snakes, they're worried about the mother being close by. Well, there's no chance, because snakes give birth and the young move off in different directions. They all go and find their own life. And when snakes lay eggs, with very few exceptions, being the python and the spotted scarpsteker, snakes abandon their eggs and the eggs hatch on their own. So by the time that those eggs hatch 2 or 3 months later, they're very far away from where the mother might be. So you don't have to worry about the mother being around. A very popular myth is that baby snakes are more venomous than adults, or more dangerous than adults. And the reason is apparently that they're young and dumb and they don't know how to control their venom. Well, that is, of course, not true.
I've never heard
all
that
snakes
before.
know how to work with their venom. Young snakes know how much venom to use. And something else to consider is that baby snakes have far less venom than adults. So where an adult black mamba might have over 300 milligrams of venom, a baby black mamba is going to have not even 10% of that. So that's a myth, and that's absolutely not true. Snakes chasing people is a very, very popular story. It's been around for years and years and years. We've worked with venomous snakes from all over Africa, all over the world, and we do not have a snake that chases after people. So if you come across any snake in the wild, a mamba or a cobra or a puffer, and you're 5 paces or more away from the snake, you're perfectly safe. You can remain there, you can turn around and walk away, you can run away, but the snake will not chase you. So what might well happen is that if you come across a large snake, you might actually be between the snake and its hole. So there is the odd chance that it might move roughly in your direction to get to its hole to escape. It might just choose a random direction to escape, which might be close to you, but it's definitely not chasing you. It's often said that black mambas can lift 3/4 of their body off the ground. So there's all these stories of them lifting their heads high off the ground, looking you in the eyes, or people sitting in their vehicle and the mamba would lift right off the ground, 2 meters or more off the ground, and look you right in the eye. Well, that's physically impossible. So a lot of snakes, like the black mamba, can lift maybe 1/3 of their body off the ground. So a 3-meter black mamba, which is an exceptionally large one, could lift about 1/3 of its body off the ground, about 1 meter high, but not high enough to look you in the eyes. So those are just a few of many, many, many myths. And in different cultures, we hear different stories. So what is your myth? What story have you heard? Let us know. We'd be very happy if you'd share those with us.
I actually really like these videos because the footage is really nice. I'm gonna give that a subscribe. And I find that the guy, the man, what did his name tag say? The African Snakebite Institute is the leading provider of snake awareness, first aid for snakebite, and venomous snake handling courses in Africa. We're also the leading distributor of high-quality snake handling equipment in Africa. We offer both public courses and corporate on-site training. Our corporate courses cover snake awareness, identification, behavior and biology, myths and superstition, first aid for snakebite and emergency procedures, venomous snake handling. That's really cool. That's so neat. But yeah, I agree. I agree, Zero. He definitely has the Victor Von Croy Tomb Raider 4 look. And yeah, snake hooks and snake tongs, like they're showing in the videos, those actually are very... They have a World Snake Day video. Let's watch it.
Today is World Snake Day, a time to celebrate one of the planet's most misunderstood creatures. In Africa, we have some of the world's most fascinating snakes, deadly ones like the black mamba or pufferder, and harmless ones like the egg eater or sand snakes. Africa is home of over 600 snake species, but only about 150 are considered dangerous. The other 450 completely harmless to humans. Snakes play a vital role in our ecosystem, controlling pests such as rats and keeping balance in nature. Most are shy, not aggressive, and just want to be left alone. This World Snake Day, let's replace fear with respect. Learn, understand, and protect these incredible animals, especially our uniquely diverse snakes here in Africa.
All right, everyone. How do we get on this and we get like a corporate snake handling course going? I think we need to contact them and be like, "Hey, can you do a Zoom with us? Can you do a Zoom with us and teach us how to handle snakes respectfully?" Also, hello, Clockwork Brook. Hi, welcome to stream. Roz says, "I like snakes because they're almost never aggressive and they don't care about you unless you touch them." Yeah, no, you're totally right. Snakes they get a very bad reputation. And it's because there are a lot of myths that go around. Because looking at these different kinds of snakes, they were showing with the black mamba. The black mamba was just kind of chilling there. I remember I caught some small copper snakes and was carrying them, then I let them go. Well, and I'm not sure how many of you remember Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. He used to handle snakes all the time, and he rarely got bit by them or anything, right? And a lot of the time, I think people are scared because they don't understand snakes. Because, like I said, that's not how you spell the word myths. There are a lot of myths going around them, right? So, do snake repellents work? But yeah, there's a lot of different myths about snakes, unfortunately. And I think that they tend to get they get spread around a lot. Because, like, you just look up snake myths and Clit's Reptiles, he's got a great video. And they'll tell you, oh, these are debunked. These are things that are true. These are things that are false. Like, there's just so many different myths about them. And it also doesn't help that, you know, a lot of these snake myths and misinformation that gets spread around, it kind of reminds me of like pre-internet, or like when you're in grade school and you're kind of playing telephone and you're talking to other kids and somebody's like, well, my dad's friend works for Nintendo and he said that Kirby was going to be in the next Mario game. And you're like, no way. And you're like, no, my dad's uncle's friend works for Nintendo. And you're like, well, I can't argue with that. It's kind of like that, right? So I am going to put on a quick video for you because I need to get some more water. Let's find something. I'm gonna see, what does Clint's Reptiles have? So he's got a lot of great videos, so I highly recommend checking out Clint's Reptiles if you want to learn all about handling reptiles and who are these, what is cool about them, all that great stuff. Ooh, let's do his Evolution Made Simple video. Let's do that.
Well, hi there. I'm here today to talk about actually a relatively controversial topic, but probably one that shouldn't be controversial. And that's evolution. And for that reason, I've brought a pile of rad snakes. These are ball pythons. As it turns out, every single one of these is a ball python. And that might be surprising to some people because they really don't look that much alike. But are they all the same? These pythons are all different because they all contain different alleles. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about when I say alleles, you should definitely check out our videos on genetics. Our first genetics video actually explains all about alleles, but alleles essentially are just different flavors of a gene, different variants of a gene, and different variants of a gene code for different things. In this case, snakes that look very, very different. Though every single one of these snakes was actually captive bred, these different alleles originally came from wild populations. These different alleles were actually originally made when a mistake was made during the copying of some genes. You can't have offspring if you can't make a copy of your genes, and sometimes those copies aren't quite right. The result of this mistake was a brand new allele, a mutant. Mutation is what creates new alleles. And when a population has lots of different alleles in it, we say that it has a lot of variation. Without variation, there are actually only two different things that can happen to a population. It can either continue on exactly the same, or it can go extinct. But if there is variation, like there is in ball pythons, then it can change. What we will want to look at is how many of any one specific kind of allele exists in a population compared to the total number of alleles in that population, or what's called a ratio. For example, if I have 100 alleles, 80 of the alleles that code for a snake that looks like this, and 20 of them code for a snake that looks like this, then I have a 4-to-1 ratio. If I come back 10 years later and now I have 1,000 alleles, and 200 code for a snake that looks like this, then the ratio is still 4-to-1. For every one that codes for this, there are 4 that don't. Thus, even though the population is growing, the ratio is staying the same. But it really gets interesting when the ratio changes. But what would cause this? It is probably fair to say that, in the wild, some of these snakes would probably survive more often than others, or that some would get killed more than others. But it's also probably fair to say that the success of these alleles will probably depend a lot on what the environment that they're in is like. If any of this sounded outrageous or controversial or it just didn't make sense, please comment about that down in the comments, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have and hopefully make sense of it. But if it did make sense, then we agree that some alleles are going to do better in the environment than others. And which ones are likely to be the most successful is going to depend a lot on what they do and what the environment is like. When the ratio of alleles in a population changes because some alleles are more successful in the environment than others, or more likely to get passed on to the next generation than others, we call that natural selection. But that isn't the only way that the allele frequency, or the ratio of alleles in a population, can change. Sometimes the ratio of alleles will change not because it helps you survive, but because it helps you find a mate, either because it helps you fight off potential rivals or because the ladies really like it. We call that sexual selection. Sometimes new alleles are brought into a population by somebody moving in, or they leave the population because somebody left. This is called gene flow. The ratio of alleles, this allele frequency, can even be changed by random events, especially when they drastically change the size of the population, like when a new population is formed, or when some natural disaster or something drastically reduces the size of the population. This is called genetic drift. Overall, the variation in a population can be changed by many things. And when any of these things change to the ratio of alleles in a population, the allele frequency, we call this. And I really don't think that's a very outrageous thing. Unless, of course, you don't believe in mutations or variation. I would love to do whole videos on each and every one of these things that cause evolution, and other topics in evolution as well. So if that is something you would like to see in the future, please like this video and comment down in the comments. Let us know what you'd want to see, how much you enjoyed seeing this, and of course, any questions that you have. If you'd like to know more about alleles and genetics, remember we've already got a series of videos on genetics, and please check those out. And of course, check out RDPOV, because you noticed how rad this video looked? All of their videos are awesome, just like this. They have amazing talent, and they're just a lot of fun. A great group of guys. Definitely support them over on Facebook. Aww. And I don't want to wreck your day, but this snake has legs. As always, like and subscribe. Make sure to click that little bell so you get a notification when our new videos come out, like maybe new videos about all the mechanisms of evolution. That's the kind of thing you want to see. If not, we got lots of rad reptile videos, all kinds of different animals that you might want to see, and we hope to see you real soon. Well, hi there. I am here today with a western hognose snake and a Kenyan sand boa, which have two of the derpiest faces in the animal kingdom, and we're going to figure out which of these two makes the best pet reptile. And of course, to do that, we're going to have to put them head to head. Both of these snakes were on our list of 5 of the best pet snakes you could possibly get. Both of them are similarly sized, actually fairly small snakes that have females that are way bigger than the males, as we will demonstrate. Once again, females are much larger than males in both species. Even the females, which are considerably larger than the males, are still fairly small snakes. Both of them have absolutely glorious patterns and, as we mentioned before, really derpy faces. But which one is the better pet snake? Well, that's going to come down to our 3 head-to-head categories, which are awesomeness, because you wouldn't want to own it if it wasn't stinking awesome, expensiveness, and difficulty. So let's begin with awesomeness. And let's just get this out of the way. These are both awesome. They're also both really beautiful. Personally, I think that Kenyan sand boas are just a little bit prettier than western hognose snakes, and their morphs are cheaper. You may disagree with this, and that would be totally understandable because hognose snakes are gloriously beautiful, but my thinking is if a hognose snake ever hatched out with the pattern and coloration of a Kenyan sand boa, the hognose snake community would lose its mind. Both of them have silly, derpy little faces, I personally like the hognose snake face just a little bit more than the sand boa face, but that's just my personal opinion. And to be perfectly honest, both of these faces had to grow on me. At first I didn't like either of them, and now I love both of them. So I might change my opinion on that in the future, who knows. They are both an awesome size. They're both pretty much identical in size. The males are both pretty much identical in size to one another, and the females, which are considerably larger, are also basically identical in size to one another. But as you'll probably notice from looking at this male and this female, they are not similarly sized between the sexes. And this is almost identical between sand boas and hognose snakes. So in both of them, the males are about...
I'm back. I just got back. I needed a stretch. Ugh. I'm back now. Okay. I didn't want to interrupt Clint in the middle of showing off beautiful, beautiful snakes. Let's catch up on chat. I had to grab more water. I've been drinking my water. Oh, Zero's gone. That's good. I hope that has a good night. Yeah. If you want to learn a lot about reptiles and watch a lot of really fun videos, I highly recommend Clint's Reptiles. The guy loves reptiles and amphibians, and you will learn so much. And the weight of the snake kind of depends. Some can be really heavy, but some aren't too bad, and most snakes will actually kind of sort of help you out. And I was looking at your profile banner, and it's kind of like what Rochor said. All of those trees are just, they're gorgeous. That's beautiful. It really does remind me of where I live in Alberta. Like, yeah, that's so cool. You live in a very pretty village. Yeah, drop him in Discord. That'll be fun. You live in a nice village. That's awesome. So, just gonna drop socials in Discord again because I'm not sure if I've dropped that. So for those who want to join, always feel free to share things in the Discord because there's lots of fun things that we can talk about and share and discuss. So yeah. But yeah, your village is really nice. I think I posted some photos of the fawns, the baby deer that are running around right now here in Athabasca. And I wonder if that's why, because in Athabasca we actually have a lot of immigrants at from Ukraine and Poland actually as well. Poland more so in Edmonton, and there's also lots of Russians as well. So lots from, that area who move here in Alberta. And sometimes I wonder if part of it is because of the similar climate, similar trees, and, kind of a similar vibe. Whether it's Canada or it's, Russia, our big thing we have in common, we know what to do during a cold winter, and it's bundle up. But yeah, I really like Clint's Reptiles because he has a lot of really good information. He shows off a lot of different snakes, like showing snakes versus snakes. If you look at, you can tell some of his videos are older and some of them are newer. Here we go. So here's his main page. New videos every Saturday. And yeah, I'll check out your photos after stream. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, I think it's really, really cool how you can even go by playlists. So let's say you're not a fan of snakes, but you want to learn about dinosaurs. He has videos about dinosaurs. He has videos about sharks, amphibians, cephalopods. So lots of things you can learn about. If you want to learn about spiders too. He even has some videos about mammals. So he is a biologist and educator. His favorite thing is reptiles, but he does talk about all sorts of really cool things, right? Yeah, exactly, Roz. dinosaurs. We love dinosaurs and crocodiles and showing off his reptile rooms. And he also talks about things like he'll react to myths. He'll talk about new discoveries. He'll talk about feeding things. So I highly, highly recommend checking out Clint's Reptiles. Tanako Island is a scary alternate universe of Jurassic. No, I haven't heard of that. I'm gonna copy that and type that in. Oh, and we should talk about some more snake myths too, because I feel like some of the snake myths that are going around. Ooh. I find that there's a lot of myths that go around that oh no, don't worry, I'm intrigued. Harder to scare me. But yeah. I just keep getting distracted. Okay, let's talk about some reptile myths or snake myths before I forget. So we should definitely want to get those out of the way. So I actually had never heard before today the myth that baby snakes are more dangerous than adults. I find that really interesting that that is a myth. Apparently, there's lots of studies that show that juvenile prairie rattlesnakes, they have to release more venom because their venom isn't as potent as other snakes yet. And this is a cottonmouth snake. They're in America. They're a USA snake. Very venomous. And that's why people tend to be nervous about them. But I find it interesting that people think that they're gonna chase them down. Like, apparently people say things like, oh, they chase down people on jet skis. I honestly don't understand myths like that because, you know, snakes usually just sit like that on the hooks. They're not very scary. Oh! Snakes unhinge their jaws. I love that myth because, they don't actually do that. So let's actually look at how a snake eats. Oh, you got your diploma. Congratulations. That's awesome. Honestly, good job. Good job. Always happy to hear about everybody's achievements.
So snakes have incredibly flexible skulls, which allow them to consume very large prey. And they can do that because, unlike what is commonly believed, they cannot dislocate their jaws. They are unfused on the front. They can also eat very large prey because they have a long bone here that's called the quadrate that relates basically the brain case to the lower bone, the lower jaw. And the lower jaw is very long and flexible and it's not fused in the middle. So
oh, I want to go back and show that snake skull. Because can you not right now? Sorry, my cat is trying to go on my desk and play with everything. Lawyer! Cool. Cool. No, stop it. Sorry, kitty cat. No, can you just sit nice? Can you please? Yeah, I love you too. So if you look at the snake at the bottom of their jaw, see how there's no bone connecting between the two jaw bones? I might have to deal with my cat.
So the lower jaw bones of snake is not like human because it's split in the middle and joined by a ligament, and this allows them to spread their jaw on the side and to eat big prey. Snake will walk their skull over the prey by moving their jaw independently from side to side.
Well, that was truly jaw-dropping, and I've been chatting more with Marion about snake jaws, and you can check out that video over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.
So, oh, here we go. There you can see, I think you can see better on this skull here. There's no attachment whatsoever. So the cool thing is that they're very flexible. They've got these very, very flexible jaws, very flexible bones. And it allows them to really just open their mouths very, very wide. And, oh, this one's a good one too. There we go. So the tissue, the left and right jaws, it's very elasticy, it's very stretchy, and the lower jaws swing wide open. The upper jaw moves independently from the lower jaws. But basically the reason that snakes can swallow such food that's larger than their head, then that's why they can open it. It's not that they're unhinging their jaw. It's just they're super flexible. They're super elasticy. But could you, right? Could you imagine if as humans we could do that? Because snakes can eat, you know, things that are as big as the widest part of their body. Because if they can open up their mouth and make it big enough and fit that prey in, they're gonna do it. It's quite an achievement, right? And meanwhile, humans, we have to cut everything up into little pieces, and we actually have to use a fork and knife. Our lives are so much harder. So yeah, looking at the snake, it's like you just have a very stretchy face, stretchy mouth, which is really cool. You can identify a venomous snake by how it looks. For some people, feeling able to visually identify whether a snake is venomous or not brings them comfort. And they're like, oh, they have cat-like pupils, triangular heads, thicker bodies, dark facial bands. And this, just like when we were talking about what makes a venomous snake, it's again, yeah, they sure, some of them look like that, but not all of them. Copperheads don't have the dark band. Venomous coral snakes don't have dark bands and don't have robust bodies. The Scarlet King snake has the bright colors but isn't venomous. It's, depends on the snake, right? They're a mimic. I think they eat the whole prey because they can't chew. You are correct, they cannot chew. Their teeth are designed to pretty much like hook and drag their prey down their throat, not for chewing. But yeah, it's really cool how snakes, well, and you see this all over, mimics that have the bright coloring that says, oh, I'm venomous, but then they're not. They're just liars. Of course, here's our copperhead with those pit organs. And a coral snake that actually is venomous. So coral snake venomous, Scarlet King snake not venomous. So there you go. You can't just look at them and figure out which is which. It's more about things like scale patterns and knowing things very not a triangle head. This one's a round head, but again, venomous. So gotta love that. Oh, What the heck? I haven't heard that one either. Phobia rave. I have caught a cottonmouth, and I've also caught one in a bucket. A coral snake. Yeah! And people always think that they're always going to bite and stuff, but it's not true. So the cloudiness over a snake's eye isn't actually about being blind. What we call this is an eye cap. And the eye cap on the snake means that the snake is actually getting ready to shed. So when they have these cloudy, slightly opaque eyes, that means that the snake is getting ready to shed, because it's a whole process when a snake sheds. They have fluid that separates their old skin from the new skin, so when the old skin peels off, it doesn't damage them. And it makes that cloudy, milk-like appearance there, which it does make it more challenging to see, but it's not like they can't see at all. So it's really, really cool, actually, to see the eye caps on the snake. I'll see if I can find you a video of a snake shedding, too, because they're really interesting. And when snakes shed... What did I do? Oh, put that in the wrong. Snake shedding video. Because the way snakes shed, they shed all in one piece, right? If your snake is shedding in more than one piece, you kind of got a problem. So let me open up a video for you to show how it works. So yeah, they start by rubbing their face. You see how the snake is rubbing its face? And the skin starts to peel upwards? That's what you want. And some people will help their pet snakes with shedding. In the wild, it's not going to do that at all, right? And they literally crawl their body out of the old skin, and it comes off in one big piece. I just realized that the video was really loud. Whoops. But yeah, the snake is crawling out of its old skin, like literally crawls it off, all in one piece. And it's really, really cool when you get that snake skin afterwards, you know? Just one big piece. Also, it is very, very common for people to think that they had a girl snake and it's a boy snake, or a boy snake and it's a girl snake. Because basically the only way to actually determine what sex your snake is, you have to do internal testing. And snakes do not like that. So most of the time it's like, let's just leave them alone. We will just let the snake be whatever the snake wants to be. And of course you can tell if the snake starts doing things like laying eggs. And you are correct. Shedding the skin is just like knitting a sock, and that's how really long socks are made. Yep, that's where the really long socks come from. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. But yeah, it's really cool to me how many different kinds of snakes there are. And of course, you have things like rattlesnakes that will warn you when they rattle that, oh, I don't want you to touch me. And it's very interesting too, because you can look up a lot of these distributions, like where are they hiding? What are they about? And one of the biggest things I've noticed is that timber rattlesnakes they are often they have a mild disposition. They don't often bite. And you can see that they give plenty of warning. All right, so you're saying that the snakes should be taxed for sock making. Cosmo, you need to calm down on taxing everything. You better calm down. No more taxation. No more. I love how many of the snakes in North America are rattlesnakes. There's just so many that are rattlesnakes. I also think it's cool how when we're looking at, where do they live? Where do they live? You can find out, it's just, they're so cool. Snakes are neat. All right, so I'm going to do a quick off-screen search to show what snakes actually, what their anatomy looks like, because I do think it's very interesting and worth talking about what the anatomy of a snake is, because I feel like this, come on. Is that gonna let me show you what is, nope, that does not like that website. That's okay. So I want to, this one will work. All right. So we should talk a little bit about how snakes work. So when you're looking at snakes, of course they have bones, but they have different organs too. So when a snake flicks their tongue in and out, they're actually grabbing scent particles and they flick their forked tongue against their Jacobson's organ, which is that organ right there. And that gives them information about the world around them. So they flick their tongue in and out to understand how the world works and what the information is in that area. So snakes' vision isn't the best, but their sense of smell is great. So that's why you want to look at things like, what makes the snake a snake? The Jacobson's organ, that is, of course, that very unique organ on the roof of their mouth. That helps them figure out where the food is, which way to go, where they could find a mate, what their prey is. And snakes actually have directional smell. So they can actually smell left and right. Snakes can smell where everything is and what direction it's in because of that forked tongue. So very, very cool about them because, you know, if we could do that, we could probably find things very quickly in a room. They lick, they sniff. They lick, they sniff. And the forked tongue tells which side of the room and where it is. Snakes have a cloaca, which is near the base of their tail. That's for excretion and reproduction. So that is for both. So let me see if... Oh, they don't have a good article of or image of the full snake. Trying to find a good snake diagram for you. Because... there we go. Okay. Because the problem is, you need to see... So, the snake is not just a tail. And that's something when I was working at an aquarium that I heard a lot of people say is that, well, aren't snakes mostly just tail? Like, all tail? And the answer is, they actually are more than just a tail. So see here, That part is the tail. And over here, that is their cloaca. So the cloaca, that is the opening that allows them to, whether they are, that allows them to excrete. So when they need to use the bathroom, that comes out of there. And when they mate, that is where their internal sex organs are. Because reptiles, like snakes, lizards, etc., they have cloacas and their sex organs are actually inside their body. So as you can see, the gonads are up here. And intestines, adrenal glands, kidneys, they do have all those different body parts. See, stomach, small intestine. So they do have organs inside of their body, liver, and they actually have, I'm trying to remember if it's the right lung or the left lung. That one is smaller than the other. Oh, it's been a while since I did my snake anatomy. But yeah, snakes, like I said, they do have a lot of the same things that humans do, a lot of the same kind of organs. Of course, they're missing things like arms and legs. And I think it's the left lung that's bigger than the right lung, because their respiratory system is different from ours. Yeah, they do contract their muscles between their ribs to breathe. They don't have a diaphragm. They, it's kind of an active process. They have to contract their muscles. And when they're breathing, they're built a little bit differently, right? And it's really cool to look at their bodies. Just so different, you know? Oh, this one's a good diagram too. I will share the Reptile magazine for those of you who want to look a little bit closer. Where did I put that? Ah, here it is. Boom. If you want to look more at snake anatomy, because like I said, it is quite interesting. Like, there is overlap with mammals, but they're not quite the same. Ah, snake's right. It was right here. The snake's right lung is the primary lung. The left lung is either smaller or absent completely. Yeah, and that way they can eat the larger prey items. It's just really interesting how snakes exist. So yeah, their anatomy is quite different. Ooh, I think we should finish up by looking at how snake movement works. Because different snakes have different ways of moving. Snake movement. And yes, super butt. I love this guy, the Gaboon Viper. The Gaboon Viper definitely moves the weirdest out of any snake. So, yeah, so many different snakes. So many! It's great! Alright, we'll just pause there for a minute as I pull up a good video about snake movement. Because most snakes, we kind of, there's 4 different ways that snakes move. And I think we think of most of them moving, when we think of snake movement, we usually think of lateral undulation, right? Like the kind of, the S-shaped, seamless and smooth. But there's also concertina locomotion, which allows them to move in a straight line. And that's more of your pythons. Sidewinding, which of course, I feel like sidewinders everybody's kind of heard of that before, right? Like the sidewinder rattlesnakes. And the last one is rectilinear locomotion. So those are the 4 main types of movement. Rectilinear locomotion is probably the weirdest kind of movement for a snake. Rectilinear locomotion. Anytime I think of that, it's heavy-bodied snakes that do that. And it's so weird. Like, this is what I'm talking. Gaboon viper. Actually, let's just look up Gaboon viper moving, because the other ones I think are really easy to visualize, but this is what rectilinear locomotion means. Like, literally, it moves like a caterpillar. That is how the Gaboon viper moves. Like, I wouldn't be. I find it hard to. I find it hard to describe it, because it's like, it almost looks like it's marching. You know what I mean? Like, why does it move like that? It's so weird. And
it's crawling like a caterpillar, right? But see how cute that is? Look at that. It's crawling like a caterpillar, right? But see how...
And that is a real snake. That's the Gaboon viper. And everybody who talks about it...
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound. Making my way...
That's how it moves, though. It moves like a caterpillar.
This Gaboon viper is crawling across the floor of my bedroom. You'll notice she's pulling her body forward using her ribs. This is called rectilinear locomotion, and it's very unusual. However, I also do this. This Gaboon viper is crawling across the floor of my bedroom. You'll notice she...
I feel like... I don't know if there's a lot of other snakes that actually crawl that way, but... yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Because I feel like all the other snakes, like the Sidewinder, I feel like everybody knows about them.
This snake can travel at speeds of up to 18 miles per hour. This is the Parangaze adder, also called the Sidewinder. Sidewinding is the equivalent of the horse's gallop in the snake world. It's the fastest way to get around. And speed aside, it's also the best way for a snake to cross loose, shifting sand. In sidewinding, only 2 parts of the snake are on the ground simultaneously. With the head and tail firmly anchoring the snake, it throws its body forward in a loop. When that lands, the head is thrust forward. As soon as that lands, the tail is brought up, and so on. This movement creates grip, much like a foot pushing down, allowing the snake to move forward without sliding, even on shifting sand. Sidewinding is also a necessary heat coping behavior in the scorched desert. It reduces the body's contact with the hot sand. But the Sidewinder doesn't use this speed to chase down prey. The lizards are way too quick for that. Instead, they find an area with good lizard activity, often near grass tussocks, where the lizards seek shade. Starting at the tail and working its way towards the head, the Sidewinder wiggles its body into the sand. With only its eyes above the sand and the desert wind blowing all traces of its burial site away, the adder waits, its potent venom ready to do the hard work. A shovel-snouted lizard is also on the hunt. He stops to pick up a bug.
Eat bug.
Big mistake. In this scorched desert, the lizard is not just a meal, but an important source of water, too. He retreats into the cool sand to digest.
And now the snake doesn't have to eat for a while. But yeah, that's it's really interesting to me how snakes have so many different ways of moving. Because, like, obviously the Sidewinder snake, being in the desert, you need to be able to not burn yourself. So being able to sidewind works really well. But it's just so many different ways to move. And of course,
throughout the animal kingdom, movement takes many forms, but few are as mesmerizing and unique as the gliding, slithering motion of a snake. Without arms or legs, snakes seem to break the rules of movement altogether. Yet their locomotion is a masterpiece of muscle control, friction, and evolution. Snakes possess more than 200 pairs of ribs, each connected to powerful muscles. These muscles contract and relax in coordinated waves, producing the fluid, rhythmic motions that define their movement. Friction from their belly scales, called scutes, gives them the grip they need to push against surfaces, while their flexible backbone allows incredible bending and twisting. The most common form of movement, seen in nearly all snakes, is lateral undulation. Picture the snake's body forming a series of smooth S-shaped curves. As it presses each bend against rough surfaces like sticks or pebbles, it propels itself forward in a graceful glide. In water, this same motion becomes even more fluid, as the snake uses the water's resistance instead of solid ground to move. When a snake enters narrow burrows
Have a
or
good
climbs
sleep,
through
Cosmo.
branches,
Thank you for
it often
dropping
switches
in.
to concertina locomotion. The snake anchors the rear part of its body, stretches its head and front section forward, and then pulls the rest along, like a concertina folding and unfolding. This method takes more energy but allows incredible precision in tight spaces. In harsh desert environments, some species use an elegant move known as sidewinding. By lifting parts of their body while the rest pushes off the sand, snakes like the sidewinder rattlesnake reduce friction and avoid overheating from the hot surface. Each section of the body touches the ground only briefly, leaving a beautiful J-shaped pattern in the sand. For larger, heavier snakes such as boas and pythons, rectilinear locomotion becomes their secret weapon. Instead of bending side to side, they use their belly muscles to lift and push their scales forward in tiny waves, sliding smoothly in a straight line. This quiet, controlled movement is perfect for stalking unsuspecting prey. Beyond these main types, some tree snakes display remarkable climbing skills by wrapping tightly around branches, while semi-aquatic snakes can swim with sinuous grace. Every form of snake movement demonstrates adaptability, combining muscular strength, body flexibility, and frictional control. In essence, snake locomotion is not just about movement. It is about efficiency, evolution, and mastery of mechanics. Even without limbs, snakes have perfected the art of motion, gliding silently through forests, deserts, and water, with a precision that no machine can yet fully replicate.
Man, I love snakes. I think we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover about snakes today. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap up the stream pretty soon here. I just want to, I'm going to put on my ending screen. Just want to show you, I think, so the snake that I have for my avatar now, it is removable and does have some other toggles. So I'm definitely going to use the snake in other streams in the future because I love this little friend. It's a nice little addition to my avatar. So expect the snake to make appearances. But I hope everybody had a lot of fun learning more about snakes today, appreciating snakes. And if you have any other questions about snakes or nature, let me know. You can always, I do have an email. I have a Proton Mail email that you can always message if you have questions about nature or if you have a suggestion for a fun little animal deep dive like the one I did today. And we can learn all about animals together. So thank you all so much for coming out. I hope you had a lot of fun talking about snakes. If you, like I said, if you have a new topic that you want me to talk about, let me know and we'll talk about that. Don't forget, do not forget, we have something exciting coming up. What's that? What's coming up that's so exciting? Why, it's my birthday. It's July 18th. It's this coming Saturday. You are all invited to my birthday stream here on Twitch. So feel free to let other people know that King of Frogs is having a little birthday gathering, a birthday party, that we're going to play some multiplayer games together. We're going to talk about things. I will try to host the first part of my birthday party with the games at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on July 18th. So birthday stream coming up for that time. I will try to post reminders about it on the social medias as well. And I also might do an art stream that night around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time as well. So kind of my usual streaming times. But again, thank you all so much for coming out. I hope you had fun. Feel free to get active in the Discord. If you have more questions, let me know. And of course, yeah, birthday stream on Saturday. So we're going to find someone to raid. We're going to find someone to raid now. I hope everybody's having a great time. Who should we raid? There's lots of people playing lots of different things today. Oh, it looks like Schlab is doing stuff. Let's raid Schlab again because he's making a AA powered PC and I think that would be fun. So tell him it's bog raid time. Tell him bog raid. That'll be fun. I think you'll enjoy Schlab. All right, getting you all ready and raid now.